I'm not usually in the market for these general seasonal videos, but I have done them, and I would be lying if I said they weren't fun and easy to fill time with. In all seriousness, I've been flirting with the idea for a while, and I didn't have anything planned after the last Healer Girl video, which I absolutely loved doing. But it was tiring, so consider this a nice and chill intermission. I didn't expect Lycoris Recoil to be so big. Maybe the writing on the wall was clearer to those familiar with the staff. There is director Shingo Adachi, who's done plenty of design and chief animation for A1, or Asura, the scriptwriter, who, despite this being an original, has plenty of past work for potential reference. But for me, it was character designer Imigi Muru who created Konobi, which is probably the least exciting correlation to follow, but character designs are important. Chisato and Takina have definitely proven this, being very notable faces of the show. But beyond that, as the weeks go by, Lycoris Recoil has cemented itself as a show with eye-catching choreography and a keen focus on character writing. Right from the first episode, we get a good idea of the main duo's philosophies. Takina is fine with killing, while Chisato isn't. And they show this with Takina's devil-may-care attitude, and Chisato's graceful movements showing restraint and flair. This is extended in episode 2. Chisato's rubber bullets produce red smoke. The recipients react, but not too seriously. However, when Takina gets a hit, there's clear blood drawn, and there's more focus on damage. Later on, we get verbal reaffirmation of Chisato's morals, but a lot of this is reinforced by seeing her in action. Throughout the fight, she really has done the least amount of harm. The action is exciting, but it's also involved with the characters. Of course, it isn't just in the action where the characters come alive, but also in the everyday, where we really get expressive animation that look and feel organic, and it's designed to be that way. In an interview with Shingo Adachi, he explains just how important the characters are, saying he wanted Chisato's dialogue to be selfish. She isn't there to advance the plot, but to be a person. This is made doubly possible by the voice actors, with one case where they were directed not to use anime voices. These performances helped shape the characters during production. Lycoris Recoil is an explosive action series when it wants to be, and for me, it's in how well they've treated their main characters that really sets it above and makes it so fun to watch. Director Tomoyuki Itamura previously worked on Monogatari, a series somewhat about vampires, and Vanitas, a show definitely about vampires, and now a show about vampires. And while the vampire itself is the focus, it's everything surrounding her that enhances the experience. Call of the Night is a colorful show, utilizing backgrounds to craft a unique setting, and as a secondary storytelling device. Throughout the show, we see that the color of night is bright, full of life, and alluring. To situate nighttime in bright, neon, otherworldly contrast is to make it visually distinct. If it didn't look so vivid, then the discovery and exploration felt by Ko wouldn't be as exciting. The story isn't about Ko roaming a world that he's uninterested in. It's about him venturing and exploring a new world, and meeting a vampire, and also learning from that. But the color design also applies in the scenes not at night. The ordinariness of everyday life is amplified when we get to see normal colors. Many of the characters don't have an emotional attachment to daytime, and making it unassuming would be fitting. Ko straight up avoids going to school. Akira also doesn't really show enjoyment in that lifestyle. The ordinariness of the daytime enhances just how droll it must feel to those involved, and when juxtaposed with the stylized night, creates an emotional dynamic that helps express how meaningful this time is for them. These colors also come in many shades. In the first episode, Ko is drawn to a bright golden vending machine. He stares at it like a moth to a flame, and then meets Nazuna. This metaphor is extended in the second episode, where this golden coating is used when Ko searches for Nazuna, like a moth to a flame. There's also a scene in episode 3 where Ko gets into a fight with Nazuna, and while he searches, we get multiple shots through the city, all colored differently, showing his disarrayed emotions. Call of the Night, while having really fun characters with a silly concept to make it engaging and interesting, utilizes its colors to great extent, making the backgrounds not just a visual flex, but an integral part of the storytelling. This last one is a bit of a wild card. I could have put one of the many sequels, or RWBY, that I'm enjoying, but there was another show I didn't expect to be so good. One of the main draws of Shinepost has to be its premise, but explaining it is also spoiling, and it's important enough that it might ruin the experience. If you have watched Idly Pride, you know what I mean. But if you haven't, I'm gonna say the cliche. Please watch it for yourself and judge after. But I do have one point that shouldn't really spoil the premise and hopefully show how cool Shinepost is. Shinepost's greatest strength for me is in the subtle detail and care for the characters to make me feel invested in their development. One way this is done is movement. They introduced Haru in the first episode by not just having her speak, but showing us energetic and bubbly movements. I'm more convinced of her genuine optimism because I get to see her be so sparkling. One of the core tenets of her is this cheerfulness, and seeing it helps. Rio's haughty nature and absolute love for sweets is present through bright and lively movement. This even comes back as a plot point, where she gives up an idle job of hosting at a bakery. How strange that action is, and how much impact it has on her goals as an idol, is stronger because I've gotten to see how much that would have meant for her. And there are even smaller things like the manager picking away tomatoes in his burger. It makes him feel more like a person, and helps me be more invested in the story arc they've been building with him. Of course, the performances also add an additional layer. Rio is the weakest link of their idol group, and they don't waste any time showing her dancing. She's always slightly off sync, and it's visible but not dominating. They play this up by making it a part of their group dynamic and appeal, and when I first noticed, it really made me feel like I was watching a live performance with flaws and imperfections. This also comes back as a moment of vulnerability for her character, making me feel even more invested in her growth. There's another scene in episode 4 with Kyoka. This is a big moment. It's the first time she'll have sung this song in a while. It starts not perfectly. You can audibly hear her singing isn't the greatest, but when she regains confidence, it's back to studio level quality. It's a small touch that, as I noticed, made me feel like I was watching a live performance where there might be flawed moments like this. And at the same time, it made me feel more hyped that she was able to find her voice and sing well. It adds so much drama to a tiny moment and encapsulates the progression she goes throughout her arc without needing to be excessive in telling it to us. Beyond the actual story and concept of Shinepost, which I still think is a great hook, the show also manages to make me very invested in the characters and their progression as a group in an organic and natural way. While I named just 3 shows in this video, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of things to watch in any given season, and I don't want this to be like I'm putting down every other show I haven't mentioned or seen yet. These are just the shows I wanted to talk about, ones that I found really cool and interesting that I wanted to share. If you haven't seen these shows yet, it's a given, but I recommend putting them on an eternally long plan to watch list, at the very least. But anyways, that was the video. A very nice and relaxing one, hopefully. Just something to tide the time over with. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.